Hey guys, and welcome to Film Study, where we analyze films in various ways to make you see it in a different concept, and change a part of a scene and figure out how the rest of the story would play out based on a single change in one scene. It's no secret that the trial between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard made headlines for a good few weeks, and honestly, I don't think a whole lot of people knew her as well as they knew Johnny, at least the ones who weren't crazy DC fans like myself. Many people have admired Depp for most of his career, so people followed him in terms of news and relationships and films and interviews, and those people more than likely would have known and been there when he had announced his relationship with Amber. Today I wanted to take a closer look at her and her career to see what she has changed about the film industry, and honestly the answer might surprise you. I wanted to start out with who she was before she met Johnny. He said himself during the trial when he had met Amber, and based on what he says, I solely believed that he was the reason she was able to continue filming, as Bruce Robinson was hesitant on her capability of acting as a whole, and it wasn't until Johnny stepped in.
He wasn't sure about her capabilities as an actress with regard to the film and the character and taking direction and that sort of thing. So he asked me if I would read with her for the film, and I had already met a number of actresses and things. And so what I said to Mr. Robinson is, I said, Bruce, I don't. If you've auditioned her 5 times, you've seen the best and the worst, I suppose. So me putting her, this girl, in an uncomfortable situation, saying, hey, all right, let's read this, I think it's a far better idea that we just meet so that I can see how she behaves, see how she reacts, because that's really all it is, reaction, behavior, and you don't have to push anything else.
So where did she go after the Rum Diaries? Considering she had such small roles prior, except maybe a moment in a well-known country music video or a pretty liked film, the roles were still so minor it wasn't a big deal as to who played the part. When she met Johnny, I'm sure she knew exactly who he was and what he could do. I mean, even on our Wikipedia page, it labels the years 2008 to 2016 as her mainstream recognition, signifying her best years, but this is the exact same time span of her meeting Johnny, all the way to about the same time she was casted for Aquaman. I mean, that couldn't be more obvious. Every one of her roles and appearances was a flop until she met Johnny. Her role in the Rum Diaries even got mixed reviews specifically about her acting abilities, not only for this role, but for future roles if she were to get one. Now, as far as how things changed once she was casted, let's take a closer look at that side of things. First, I wanted to talk about how she was casted in the first place. During the trial, Johnny himself not only believed, but said that he did in fact play a huge role in Amber getting greenlit as a cast member for the film.
I was informed by Miss Heard that the film was going to be shooting in Australia, and that was of concern to her, and because it was of concern to Warner Brothers. So she asked if I would, because I'd had a multi, for a few years I'd had a multi-film deal with Warner Brothers, and so we'd been in business together. So I knew these people. I'd been on films with them. So she asked me if I would speak to them. I made a phone call, and I spoke to the three upper echelon Warner executives.
He mentions the dates that when she had initially auditioned for the role, there were conflicts with timing and travel issues. In September of 2015, he says that shooting in Australia would be a problem for her, more than likely due to money that she didn't have to travel. So when the issue arose, she talked to Johnny, which then talked to Warner Brothers, who already had a close relationship with. That's when the deal was made. However, at the end, he said, "I can only say that ultimately she did get the job in the film, so hopefully, I suppose, I had curved their worries to some degree." For a couple months, they were in negotiations, and on January 13th, 2016, it was announced that she was officially a part of the cast. As they were filming, though, there were issues with how she was acting when filming, leaning towards her acting abilities. After the film's released, reviews came in shortly after, with many people giving the film a bad review because of Amber, with just a few reading, Now this has nothing to do with what she's done to Johnny at this time. They were still together, so it was only about her acting. What doesn't make sense to me is why they kept her in if it was so bad. But if Johnny persuaded the creative team to let her be a cast member, then they almost had no choice but to keep her in. Obviously, she wasn't a likable character or person for that matter. Now, as far as critic reviews for her films, I mean, you don't need a film critic to know that her acting skills are just not there, but she scored so badly it's almost embarrassing. She was never a well-known actress from the beginning and still isn't now, even after being casted for a semi-big role in the DCEU. The thing that baffles everyone is just a year later, he suddenly became this monster after jump-starting her career. The fact is, however, Depp's career had been trending downward even before Heard penned the 2018 op-ed that sparked the litigation. During the trial, Depp's former agent and business manager each testified that his unprofessional behavior, showing up late to set, relying on an earpiece for dialogue, as well as his reputation for substance issues, had made major studios reluctant to work with the actor. I fully believe that the things that Amber started to do, the restraining order, the op-ed, was because not only did she want to become a public figure, but obviously she probably knew that no matter what role she was getting, she needed to put her name out there in any sort of way. Now, she filed for divorce on May 23, 2016, just 4 months after being hired for the role. You could say it was all for money, which in my opinion is very likely, seeming they were only married for like half a second before she apparently couldn't take anymore. When the trial started, she didn't really have a very well-known face, only for being the partner to Johnny for a few years and the woman who has made the allegations. It wasn't until evidence was shown and she testified that people really got to see the game she was playing, and people only believed it was a game because the evidence she had wasn't making sense or adding up compared to Johnny's. With the news about the second installment of Aquaman, from her scenes being reduced to her being cut completely and replaced with Nicole Kidman, she has enough of a name for herself now, according to the film industry, that she has a little bit of power to defend herself to the point where she isn't fully cut. She still continues to play games though, when she initially said that all she wanted was to move on and Johnny to leave her alone, but she still continues to do interviews and bring forward more evidence.
Her notes represented years of real-time explanations of what was going on.
During her interview with Dateline, it came up in a question regarding if this whole thing was a PR stunt made by her just to get the attention on her and more recognition for Aquaman. Aquaman released on December 21st, 2018. She released her public statement about the op-ed in 2016. This whole thing just seems very strange from the beginning of the marriage and then just everything falling apart. And it's just funny that every woman that Johnny has been with has been perfectly fine until she came along. But what do you guys think of all this? I feel like she's going to continue to do as many interviews as she possibly can until the release of Aquaman 2. I don't know how well that will work out for her since all the attention on her has been negative at this point, but let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below.